Luke 20. Now it happened on one of those days, as he taught the people in the temple and preached the gospel, that the chief priests and the scribes, together with the elders, confronted him and spoke to him, saying, "Tell us, by what authority are you doing these things? Or who is he who gave you this authority?" But he answered and said to them, "I also will ask you one thing, and answer me. The baptism of John, was it from heaven or from men?" And they reasoned among themselves, saying, "If we say from heaven, he will say, 'Why then did you not believe him?' But if we say from men, all the people will stone us, for they are persuaded that John was a prophet." So they answered that they did not know where it was from. And Jesus said to them, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things." So, yep. Anyway, they were always trying to trap him, and he always had a clever way to kind of trap them back. All right, 9. Here we go, the vine dresser one. All right. Then he began to tell the people this parable. A certain man planted a vineyard, leased it to vine dressers, and went into a far country for a long time. Okay, notice this is a lot like the other one. The same idea. He does something and leaves and later comes back. So that's speaking of, Jesus and that to arrival thing, 1, 2, and a gap in between. And this came up in Matthew, and of course I went into a lot of detail there. So, all right, 10. Now at vintage time, he sent a servant to the vine dressers that they might give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the vine dressers beat him and sent him away empty-handed. Again, he sent another servant, and they beat him also, treated him shamefully, and sent him away empty-handed. And again he sent a third, and they wounded him also and cast him out. Then the owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. Probably they will respect him when they see him." But when the vine dressers saw him, they reasoned among themselves, saying, "This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours." So they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. Therefore, what will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and destroy those vine dressers and give the vineyard to others. Okay? And that's exactly what happened, by the way. I went into detail in Matthew, so I don't want to dwell on this for a long time. It's pretty obvious. And when they heard it, they said, "Certainly not." Then he looked at them and said, "What then is this that is written?" And yes, indeed, but yep. It is written, "The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. Whoever falls on that stone will be broken, but on whomever it falls, it will grind him to powder." And the chief priests and the scribes that very hour sought to lay hands on him, but they feared the people, for they knew he had spoken this parable against them. See, they knew. All right, 20. So they watched him and sent spies who pretended to be righteous, that they might seize on his words, in order to deliver him to the power and the authority of the governor. Then they asked him, saying, "Teacher, we know that you say and teach rightly, and you do not show personal favoritism, but teach the way of God in truth." And that's true. 22, is it lawful for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But he perceived their craftiness and said to them, why do you test me? Show me a denarius. Whose image and inscription does it have? They answered and said, Caesar's. And he said to them, render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. But they could not catch him in his words in the presence of the people, and they marveled at his answer and kept silent. Then some of the Sadducees, who deny that there is a resurrection, came to him and asked him, saying, Teacher, Moses wrote to us that if a man's brother dies having a wife, and he dies without children, his brother should take his wife and raise up offspring for his brother. Okay, that's the law that came up a lot that I've talked about. When we get there, you'll see. All right, 29. Now there were 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died without children, and the second took her as wife, and he died. Wait, where was I? He died childless. Then the third took her, and in like manner the 7 also, and they left no children and died. Last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife does she become? For all 7 had her as wife. Okay, I have to stop and make my joke. Okay, when this parable comes up, the question shouldn't be, in the resurrection, whose wife will she be of the 7 brothers? But what was this woman cooking for dinner? Right? Each husband dies, a row of, 7 in a row. You got to start asking these questions. And nobody had children, and then she dies. But all right, okay. I know, it's just an example. So, all right, now he answers it. 34, Jesus answered and said to them, the sons of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are counted worthy to attain that age and the resurrection from the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage. So notice, those who are counted worthy to be raised in that way, okay? All right, and there's no marriage in heaven that way. That's where that's from. 36, nor can they die anymore, for they are equal to the angels and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, but even Moses showed in the burning bush passage that the dead are raised, when he called the Lord the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. For he is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live to him. Then some of the scribes answered and said, Teacher, you have spoken well. But after that they dared not question him any more. All right, 41. And he said to them, how can they say that the Christ is the son of David? Now David himself said in the book of Psalms, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. Therefore David calls him Lord. How is he then his son? All right, and that's Psalm, here it has 110. Yeah, that's the one. Psalm 110:1 is the reference for this. So he's just questioning and testing them now. And again, I went into detail and when this came up before. So 45. Then, in the hearing of all the people, he said to his disciples, Beware of the scribes who desire to go around in long robes, love greetings in the marketplaces, the best seats in the synagogues, and the best places at feasts, who devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. These will receive greater condemnation. Okay, so this sounds like what's in Matthew 23, all that. Okay. 21. And he looked up and saw the rich putting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow putting in 2 mites. So he said, Truly I say to you that this poor widow has put in more than all. For all these out of their abundance have put in offerings for God, but she out of her poverty put in all the livelihood that she had. Okay, so this is talking about percentage and proportion. I mean, if they had $1 million and she had 2 mites, and if they put in $1 and it was more than her 2 mites, she still gave more because she gave 100%, and they gave a tiny fraction of what they had. So that's the point, about that whole the rich giving and the poor giving. And then be careful. A lot of people take this and twist this into, every widow should give all their livelihood to the poor pastor who's so, destitute, and, you have to give him everything, see, and they'll twist it into that, and that's not the meaning here. Okay, they'll twist anything they can find for that purpose, so just keep that in mind. And there was a good video I saw on this where they explained how, that's, and it's not the meaning anyway, but it explained it really well more about like what the cultural background was regarding this. And I don't remember where I saw that video, but you can always just, go on YouTube and type in something, widow's 2 mites and meaning, and you might find some good videos on this that are not trying to twist your arm to give all your money to somebody who's already rich enough. So there's a lot of greed out there in these churches. So I always warn you, people, to be very careful with that. All right? They're twisting the Bible to get rich. Okay. If I find it, I'll talk about it later. Okay, again, it was good. I just wish I remember. Okay, 5. Then, as some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and donations, he said, These things which you see, the days will come in which not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. This is again a prophecy of that destruction when the Romans came against Jerusalem back then. And, it was in Matthew 24 and all. So, the same thing. Okay, so they asked him, saying, Teacher, but when will these things be? And what sign will there be when these things are about to take place? And he said, Take heed that you not be deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, I am he, and the time has drawn near. Therefore do not go after them. But when you hear of wars and commotions, do not be terrified, for these things must come to pass first, but the end will not come immediately. This is the parallel to Matthew 24. All right. Then he said to them, Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, And there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. But before all these things, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and prisons. You will be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake, but it will turn out for you as an occasion for testimony. Therefore, settle it in your hearts not to meditate beforehand on what you will answer, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries will not be able to contradict or resist. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death, and you will be hated by all for my name's sake. But not a hair of your head shall be lost. By your patience possess your souls. Okay, so here, I mean, of course, this is the very end of the end times and what happens here. And then the things to look out for at the beginning of that, like that these things are starting. He answers the question with all this, right? All right, now, just for kicks, I'm going to read this again and make a little game and test you, okay? All right. Ready? Here we go. Then he said to them, nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. But before all these things can happen, there must come a rapture to rescue you and whisk you away, so you'll never see any of these troubles ever. Wait, is that what it says? No, that's not what it says. Silly me. Look what it says. But before all these things, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues, which is, the equivalent now, all right? Not necessarily that kind of place, all right? But it could be churches, anything, those places. And prisons, okay? Delivering you up to prisons. You will be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. Okay, so he's talking to the church because it's for his name's sake. There's a lot of twisting of Matthew 24. People they want to write everything off as somebody else's mail, and this was written to those people, and that to these people. No, it's all for the church. The whole New Testament is written to the church. So it's all for us. And there are things that are predicted for people groups in different ways, but this was he says this to the church, okay? It's for his namesake. There's only one group under that category, and it's Christians. So that's that, okay? And it's been happening in the world. It's not like this would be the first time. All right, I did videos on all that, so... Okay, for my name's sake, but it will turn out for you as an occasion for testimony. Oh, testimony. Isn't that what Jesus said that we're here for? The Ascension Day, he said that we'll be his witnesses to the ends of the earth. And, of course, that involves a testimony. So... we're just doing what our purpose is, all right? So, okay, that's why we're here. Therefore, settle it in your hearts not to meditate beforehand on what you will answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries will not be able to contradict or resist. All right? You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death, right? Martyrdom. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake. There it is again. But not a hair of your head shall be lost. So, I mean, this doesn't mean we won't suffer and die. It's just, we'll ultimately be resurrected and our soul will be intact. All that, okay? Our being that way, our spiritual being will be fine. By your patience, possess your souls. All right? By patience. Okay. And I've read many accounts about martyrs and, a lot of things they wanted to inflict. Let's just say this. They wanted to inflict a lot of pain on them, okay? I don't want to say the words, but, I've read some of that in earlier videos, but the things, and I read books that explained how God actually protects his saints from that kind of thing by turning it into something else. So, like, they meant it for pain, but they didn't feel pain, basically. So, that could also be what's meant by this, not a hair perishing, but anyway, just a thought. Okay. 20. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation is near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let those who are in the midst of her depart, and let not those who are in the country enter her. Okay, so this was then for the people living there at the time, whoever, that's another thing. For these are the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. For there will be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people, and they will fall by the edge of the sword and be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. I mean, isn't that a mind blower? I mean, there it is right there, and from what I have put together about the end times, this kind of will happen again. It happened in 70 AD, but something like this happens again at the end. And it's somewhere before his return, okay? So this is like one of those dual prophecies where it applies to 2 times. But, okay, so this is a warning, to flee, okay, and escape that. All right. And then, the stuff that's going to happen. But here, I mean, isn't this interesting? I mean, Rome did this in those days because they had the Roman Empire and Israel was under it. That was part of it. They were over that, It was occupied by Rome. And so, and then when they came against them and just, did all this in 70 AD, then what happened? Look, and be led away captive into all nations. All right. I mean, of course, with Babylon, it was just Babylon, and once it was Assyria, and but that was before his time. Oh, excuse me, before his time anyway. So he's talking then about the future, and that's exactly what happened. Rome came down on them and took them captive. They were trying to revolt, which they had done a lot, with different occupiers, because it was Greece before that, and then it was Rome with this time. But they, tried to revolt, of course, and then Rome just came down against them and then led them captive from there. But look at that, into all nations. And that's exactly what happened. All right, they were just kind of spread out from there to all the nations of the world. All right, that's a fulfilled prophecy. All right, and here's another one. And Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Before I get to that, then there are Bible prophecies about how they'll be regathered from all the nations of the world and come back in. Well, that's what happened. So that's another fulfilled prophecy. And it ties in with this. And I'm getting there. I'm still hiding it. But, people can argue about the politics of this forever and ever and ever. But I mean, it doesn't mean everything has a stamp of approval on it. But it's just that overall, this is the plan. That prophecy is fulfilled in this way, and they're going to be there in the end. There's a plan with this all that God has. So that's just that happens. So that's what it is. But okay, But I mean, I'm not saying anything like, okay, there's a stamp of approval on everything. I mean, no, I'm not one of those that's led away by all that, and many are, but that's another video, okay? I don't want to get on that now. So, moving on. And Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Well, it has been trampled by Gentiles that whole time, almost 2,000 years, okay? Just under 2,000 years. It's been trampled by Gentiles. And that was the times of the Gentiles. So until then, it will be trampled. And then, in other words, not anymore. And that's what happened. They came back, and now it's that not anymore is in effect. And now they're back there again. So it's not trampled by Gentiles now in the way that it was back then. That's just the prophecy, okay? So, it'll be trampled by Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled, which has been, this time now, like lately. So, anyway, it also tells you, and that's in Romans as well, the times of the Gentiles. There's just a time for that, and that's the church age. And then that's what I keep referring to as a gap in between the first and second arrival of Jesus. And then, all right, so all these end times things are culminating with this stuff, and then all these things happen. That's a long list. Okay, I'm not going to go on that road now, but all that happens, and then he returns, and then there's the millennial reign and everything. So it's all heading to a destination, okay? All right, 25. And there will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars, and on the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. And all this is happening. Earthquakes, tidal waves, volcanoes. It's off the charts right now. I left some in Matthew 24. I mentioned some channels that have all kinds of videos on this kind of news. If you're into that, then just go find that video, and it's there. Okay. Men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now, when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. Okay, near. It's coming. And that can be quite a while. Okay, now 29. Then he spoke to them a parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they are already budding, you see and know for yourselves that summer is now near. So you also, when you see these things happening, know that the kingdom of God is near. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. And this means like the skies, not heaven, But here, and then people get confused on this. He's talking about the generation that sees the things begin is the same one that will see them come to an end. So, like this happens in a shorter time period. It's not going on for hundreds of years. So that's what it means. From the onset to the end, it's the same generation for that, okay? Not from 70 AD or any of that time, okay? All right. "34. But take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down with carousing, drunkenness, and cares of this life, and that day come on you unexpectedly. For it will come as a snare on all those who dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch, therefore, and pray always that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man." Okay, and I explained that already too before, so I don't want to dwell on that. It's already getting long. Okay, 37. "And in the daytime he was teaching in the temple, but at night he went out and stayed on the mountain called Olivet. Then early in the morning all the people came to him in the temple to hear him." All right, and that's that. So he was just giving a lot of, warnings and parables and teachings of all kinds. And that's it. Now the next 3 chapters, which are the last 3 chapters of Luke, deal with, the end events of the Holy Week events. So I'll do those all together tomorrow. And that's it for today. Yep. So I will be back tomorrow, and you have a very blessed evening. And that's it for now.